She worked 3 jobs for 6 years to put him through medical school. And on the day he received his diploma, he handed her something in return: divorce papers. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're doing well and feeling at peace today. As always, we're diving into an emotional story that will test your patience, stir your soul, and probably make you furious. This is the tale of a devoted wife whose enormous sacrifice was rewarded with the cruelest betrayal imaginable. Picture this scenario. For 6 long years, this woman worked herself to the bone, financing her husband's entire journey through medical school. And what did she receive at his graduation ceremony? Not gratitude, not appreciation. She received a legal document requesting the end of their marriage. Her husband looked at her with cold eyes and declared, "You're beneath me now. Having such a common wife humiliates me." After the divorce was finalized, the wife vanished completely. But 12 months later, her ex-husband, now a practicing physician, desperately searched everywhere for her. What had happened to change everything? Before we continue, please support this channel by hitting the like button, subscribe, and tap that notification bell so you never miss our latest stories. While you're here, drop a comment telling us your name, your city, and write "here" so we know where our amazing listeners are joining from. Your support means everything. Now, let's begin this incredible journey. That spring morning, thunderous applause filled the grand auditorium of Emory Medical Academy. Among the proud families gathered, Jasmine Cole sat overwhelmed with emotion. She quietly dabbed at her glistening eyes, determined not to let the tears escape. Her gaze fixed on the stage where her husband, Marcus Webb, stood proudly in his cap and gown, clutching the medical degree he'd just received from the dean. 6 years. 6 years of patience, hardship, and unimaginable sacrifice had finally reached this moment. Jasmine allowed herself a small smile, genuine, but somehow weary from exhaustion. She glanced down at her own hands, calloused and rough from years without any self-care. These hands had kneaded bread dough at the bakery before sunrise. They'd typed financial reports until midnight at the accounting firm. They'd massaged Marcus's tense shoulders after his marathon study sessions. Jasmine had juggled multiple jobs simultaneously. She'd sold her grandmother's antique jewelry and suppressed every personal desire, all for one singular dream: seeing Marcus earn that white coat. Beside her sat Marcus's mother, Vivian Webb, wearing an expression of supreme pride. "My Marcus has finally become a distinguished physician," Vivian announced to nearby guests, soaking in their congratulations like sunlight. Vivian looked immaculate in an expensive designer outfit with her hair perfectly styled. She cast a sideways glance at Jasmine's simple cotton dress. For years, Vivian had barely concealed her disdain for Jasmine's modest background. In Vivian's estimation, Jasmine was never suitable for her exceptional son. But Jasmine didn't mind. Marcus's love had always been sufficient. The ceremony concluded. Marcus approached them with a broad grin, though that smile seemed directed primarily toward his mother. He embraced Vivian tightly. "I made it, Mom." "Naturally, darling. Mama always believed in your brilliance," Vivian replied, patting his back affectionately. Jasmine stepped closer to embrace her husband. "Congratulations, sweetheart." Marcus accepted her hug stiffly, releasing her quickly. "Yeah, thanks. We're celebrating tonight at that exclusive new restaurant downtown. I secured reservations." His eyes never quite met Jasmine's gaze. A small ache bloomed in Jasmine's chest at his coldness, but she rationalized it away. Perhaps he was simply exhausted or overwhelmed by emotion. "Of course, honey, whatever makes you happy," she replied softly. That evening, the 3 of them gathered in an upscale establishment overlooking Atlanta's glittering skyline. Jasmine felt distinctly out of place. This was the most luxurious venue she'd ever entered. Marcus had changed into what appeared to be an expensive designer shirt. He radiated confidence as he lounged in his chair. Vivian busied herself photographing Marcus for social media posts. "Darling, all our struggles have finally concluded. Now we can begin our fresh chapter together," Jasmine ventured, attempting to spark warm conversation. Vivian snickered at this. "Marcus's struggles, you mean? My son earned this through his own determination. He's a physician now. Naturally, his circumstances will transform. He deserves excellence." Jasmine fell silent at the cutting remark. She waited for Marcus to defend her, to acknowledge their joint effort, but Marcus remained absorbed in studying the menu, saying nothing. After ordering, an uncomfortable silence descended. Marcus cleared his throat and fixed his gaze on Jasmine. This time, his expression was impossible to read. Cold, blank, with something unsettling beneath the surface. "Jasmine, there's something I need to discuss." "Yes, sweetheart?" She looked at him expectantly. Marcus reached into his new leather briefcase and withdrew a thick manila envelope, placing it directly before Jasmine. Jasmine frowned. "What's this? A job offer from the hospital?" Vivian, seated beside Marcus, wore a self-satisfied smirk. That expression sent a chill down Jasmine's spine. Marcus shook his head slightly. "Open it." Jasmine's hands trembled as she took the envelope. She slowly extracted its contents. Her eyes scanned the first lines of an official document. Her heart seemed to freeze mid-beat. The elegant restaurant around her blurred and spun. There, printed in stark black letters, "Petition for dissolution of marriage." Jasmine looked up, staring at Marcus in bewilderment. Her lips quivered. "Marcus, this is some kind of joke, right? Today is your graduation day." Marcus exhaled heavily. His expression hardened as though a mask of happiness had suddenly crumbled away. "I'm completely serious, Jasmine. Our marriage cannot continue." "But why? What did I do wrong? For 6 years Her voice cracked. "Precisely because of that," Marcus interrupted sharply. 6 years is enough. I'm a physician now. My future is brilliant. I require a partner who matches my standing, someone I can proudly introduce at professional functions, someone appropriate for my social position. Marcus scrutinized Jasmine's plain dress, her makeup-free face showing signs of exhaustion. "Jasmine, we exist on different planes now." He spoke those words casually, as though her 6 years of sacrifice meant absolutely nothing. "Having such an ordinary wife embarrasses me." The words struck like lightning from clear skies. Jasmine's mind reeled. Those humiliating words came from the man she had supported, nursed, and championed through every obstacle. Vivian added triumphantly, "You heard him clearly, Jasmine. Marcus has elevated standards now. You should have recognized your limitations from the start. Better to separate now, before you burden him or shame him among his medical colleagues. Consider whatever money you contributed as charitable giving." The tears Jasmine had restrained finally burst forth. Not single drops, but an uncontrollable flood. Pain, humiliation, and betrayal shattered her heart completely. She searched Marcus's face for any trace of the man who once cherished her. She found only an arrogant stranger. She looked at Vivian's satisfied smile. Jasmine bit her lip hard to suppress the sob threatening to escape. She refused to give them the satisfaction of witnessing her complete breakdown in public. With violently shaking hands, Jasmine crumpled the divorce notification. Vivian's word, charity, was like gasoline thrown on smoldering embers in Jasmine's soul. Something inside her fractured, but instead of shattering, it transformed into cold, sharp steel. The tears stopped instantly. She slowly raised her head and regarded the two people before her. Her gaze, moments ago confused and anguished, was now frigid, expressionless, completely unreadable. She roughly wiped the remaining tears from her face. This wasn't the soft gesture of someone defeated. It was the deliberate movement of someone who had reached a decision. Marcus and Vivian appeared startled by the sudden shift. They had anticipated weeping, pleading, perhaps fainting. Instead, Jasmine maintained a terrifying silence. Enough. That single word escaped Jasmine's lips, hoarse from suppressed emotion, but remarkably emphatic. "Mrs. Webb, I said enough," Jasmine repeated, now staring directly into her mother-in-law's bewildered eyes. "You instructed me to understand my position. You labeled my sacrifices as charity. You called me a burden." Jasmine released a small, cynical laugh, a sound more chilling than hysterical crying. That laugh made Marcus visibly uncomfortable. "Did you imagine I would stand passively while you crushed and degraded me like this?" Jasmine turned toward Marcus, whose expression had grown tense and uncertain. "And you, Dr. Marcus Webb," she emphasized the title mockingly. "You claim you've become a physician. You claim that degree belongs to you. You are profoundly mistaken." Jasmine rose slowly from her chair. Her movements were controlled but charged with contained fury. Her hand, the same one that had crumpled those papers, pointed directly at Marcus's increasingly pale face. "That degree belongs to me as well." Jasmine's voice suddenly rose sharply, startling Marcus and Vivian. Nearby diners turned to observe. Jasmine didn't care. "Every single dollar that carried you to that graduation came from my labor," Jasmine declared, her voice trembling with suppressed emotion. "Every expensive textbook you purchased was food I denied myself. Every night you slept peacefully before examinations, I worked until dawn preparing bakery orders." She jabbed Marcus's chest with her index finger. "You merely borrowed my body, my energy, my entire existence for 6 years to purchase that degree." Her breathing came in ragged gasps as she contained rage that reached her very core. "You claim I'm beneath your level." Jasmine laughed again, louder this time. "You're absolutely correct. I'm truly beneath your level." She alternated her piercing gaze between Marcus and Vivian. "I could never descend to the level of a coward who betrays his wife on graduation day, and I could never match a mother who proudly supports her son's treachery for social advancement." Jasmine retrieved her modest shoulder bag from the chair. "And remember this, both of you." She emphasized every word. "You will come to regret this deeply." Marcus, his pride wounded as a newly minted physician and furious at being confronted publicly, stood abruptly. His face flushed with shame and anger. "Jasmine, sit down immediately. Stop making a scene. What exactly do you want? Division of assets? We own nothing. Have you forgotten all your earnings went toward my tuition?" But Jasmine simply smiled, a smile so cold it sent shivers down Marcus's spine. "Did you believe I was that naive, sweetheart?" Jasmine pulled out her mobile phone. She no longer cared about the stares from surrounding tables. "Did you think I hadn't observed your disgusting behavior these past 8 months? You started concealing your phone whenever I approached. You began returning late, claiming group projects, even though your clothes carried another woman's perfume. Last week, I sacrificed buying new clothes for myself to cover your final tuition payment. Yet suddenly you had funds for an expensive designer watch." Marcus gasped. He had no idea Jasmine had noticed everything. Jasmine dialed a speed dial number on her phone. "Attorney Reynolds? Hello. I apologize for calling so late." Marcus frowned. "Attorney Reynolds? Who is Attorney Reynolds?" Vivian, arrogant moments before, now appeared anxious, her face tightened with concern. Jasmine completely ignored Marcus as though he were invisible. "Yes, counselor, it's Jasmine. Our suspicions proved accurate." She paused, listening to the voice on the line. "Yes, counselor, I received the notification tonight exactly as anticipated, precisely the scenario you predicted." Marcus's heart pounded. "Suspicions? Predicted?" "Please proceed," Jasmine continued, her voice eerily calm. "Immediately process all documentation I deposited at your office last week. Yes, counselor, everything. Include the counterpetition for betrayal and financial fraud. Most importantly, include the complete breakdown of damages for educational expenses and living support spanning 6 years. Please deliver the summons to the hospital where he begins residency next week." Hearing the term damages, Vivian leaped from her chair, face pale. "Counterpetition? What damages, Jasmine? Don't fabricate stories. Are you insane? You're attempting to extort my son?" Jasmine finally ended the call, slowly returning her phone to her bag. She regarded Vivian calmly. "I'm not insane, ma'am. I'm merely claiming what's rightfully mine. You just called this an investment. Well, I want my investment returned. Every penny. I've preserved every transfer receipt, every tuition payment record, every utility bill I covered for 6 years." Jasmine turned toward Marcus, who sat paralyzed, lips pressed tight. "Did you imagine I would allow you to walk away freely, to pursue a new life with a new wife at your level, using a degree purchased with my blood and tears? You were gravely mistaken, sweetheart." Jasmine picked up the divorce papers from the table in front of Marcus and Vivian. She didn't tear them. Instead, she folded them carefully and placed them in her bag. "These will serve as excellent supplementary evidence in court. Thank you." "I refuse to sign your divorce petition," Jasmine stated firmly, "but I will divorce you, and I will ensure you compensate every drop of my sweat before you ever wear that white coat proudly." Without another word, Jasmine turned and walked out of that luxurious restaurant with steady, purposeful strides, leaving Marcus and Vivian frozen at the table before expensive dishes they'd ordered but hadn't touched. That night, Jasmine shed no more tears. The burning fury had evaporated all her tears, leaving only steel determination. Jasmine's footsteps as she departed the elegant restaurant were light, yet they seemed to scorch the cold marble floor. Fury had frozen her tears completely. She moved quickly toward the lobby, ignoring the strange looks from staff who had watched her enter as part of a trio and now saw her leaving alone, face flushed with emotion. She immediately hailed a passing cab and provided the address of Keisha Jordan's studio, her closest friend in the city. During the ride, Jasmine sat motionless. The city lights, which should have celebrated this joyous occasion, now felt like cruel mockery. Marcus's arrogant face and Vivian's cunning smile kept flashing before her eyes. "We exist on different planes now." That phrase echoed relentlessly like a rusty nail being driven into her skull. She gripped the phone in her hand. Attorney Reynolds's contact was saved there. She wouldn't allow this humiliation to be her ending. It would be her beginning. Keisha opened her modest studio door with sleepy eyes, but they widened in surprise when she saw Jasmine standing there. "Jazz, what are you doing here at this hour? Shouldn't you be celebrating Marcus's graduation?" Jasmine didn't respond. She walked inside, and as soon as the door closed, her legs buckled. She leaned against the wall. "He demanded a divorce, Keisha." Her voice was quiet and hoarse. "What?" Keisha jumped in shock. "You can't be serious." "At the restaurant, the very evening of his graduation," Jasmine repeated, her voice beginning to tremble again. Keisha immediately embraced her friend. Within Keisha's arms, Jasmine's armor crumbled. But this wasn't a cry of desperation. It was a cry of boiling fury. She recounted everything: Vivian's insults, Marcus's arrogance, and the divorce petition. "That worthless parasite," Keisha cursed, clenching her fists. "And that mother-in-law, is she human or demon? I warned you from the beginning, Jazz. They were simply using you." "I know." Jasmine pulled away and dried her tears. "I've already contacted a lawyer, Attorney Reynolds." Keisha was stunned. "A lawyer? Since when?" "For 8 months now." Jasmine paused. "Since I recognized Marcus was beginning to change. Since I discovered evidence he was transferring money to another account secretly. I just needed final proof, and tonight he delivered it." Several weeks later, the atmosphere in the family court mediation room was frigid and tense. Jasmine, dressed in a simple but neat outfit, sat upright with calm, expressionless features. Beside her, Attorney Reynolds, a middle-aged man with composed but sharp demeanor, organized a thick file on the table. Across from them, Marcus and Vivian sat nervously. Marcus, about to begin his residency at a prestigious hospital, looked haggard. Vivian kept whispering in his ear, face pale with worry. Attorney Reynolds's summons, detailing the counterpetition and $475,000 damages claim, had completely destroyed their celebratory mood. The mediator began the session, but before Marcus or his hastily hired lawyer could speak, Attorney Reynolds intervened directly. "Thank you for your time. My client, Ms. Jasmine Cole, is present today to respond to Mr. Marcus Webb's divorce petition. However, we reject that petition." Marcus looked up sharply. "What do you mean you reject it? Jasmine, you can't—" "We reject it," Attorney Reynolds interrupted firmly, "because my client will be filing her own divorce petition, which we have already submitted." Attorney Reynolds handed a stack of documents to the mediator, a divorce petition based on betrayal, financial fraud, and psychological abuse. "That's defamation!" Vivian shrieked. "Stop inventing lies!" Attorney Reynolds ignored her completely. "We are additionally attaching a damages claim for all educational and living expenses my client provided for 6 years to finance Mr. Webb's medical studies." He opened the thick file before him. "Attached here is comprehensive evidence: biannual tuition transfers, receipts for textbooks and laboratory materials, rent payment records for their apartment, detailed breakdowns of daily food expenses my client transferred to Mr. Webb's account. The total amounts to $475,000. Marcus gasped. His face turned deathly pale. That sum was astronomical. His starting residence salary wouldn't approach even 1/10 of that annually. Vivian was breathless. The lawyer they'd hastily retained could only swallow hard upon seeing the impeccable stack of evidence. This is extortion, Marcus said, voice mixing anger with fear. That was a wife's duty. Jasmine, have you lost your mind? Jasmine, who had remained silent throughout, finally spoke. She looked directly at Marcus. The duty of a wife you claimed was beneath your level. The duty of a wife you were ashamed of. The duty of a wife you abandoned on graduation day? Her voice was flat, but razor sharp. I haven't lost anything, Marcus. I'm simply reclaiming what's mine. Suffocating silence descended. Marcus and Vivian knew they couldn't present any defense against that mountain of evidence. Then Jasmine gave Attorney Reynolds a subtle signal. He nodded. The next words sent Marcus and Vivian reeling again.
My client possesses great integrity. She does not wish to prolong this matter further.
Jasmine looked at Marcus.
I will withdraw the $475,000 damages claim.
Marcus and Vivian's mouths fell open in disbelief.
Under specific conditions,
Jasmine quickly added.
First, you will accept my divorce petition. The cause must be clearly documented: betrayal and abandonment. I want my dignity restored. Second, there will be no asset division. I will claim nothing from our residence, and you cannot demand anything from me. Ever. We separate cleanly. Third, you both will sign an agreement never to contact me or my family again. Fourth, everything concludes today. No appeals, no delays.
Marcus looked at Vivian. Vivian, half terrified at potentially selling her house to repay that enormous sum, immediately nodded in panic.
Agreed. Sign it quickly, Marcus,
she whispered frantically. Pride meant nothing compared to such crushing debt. Marcus, hands trembling from shame and relief combined, signed the agreement. The divorce process concluded rapidly. The judge's gavel fell. Jasmine was officially free. She departed the courthouse without glancing back, leaving Marcus slumped powerlessly and Vivian crying tears of relief. That afternoon, Jasmine finished packing her remaining belongings into an old suitcase at Keisha's studio. She had sold her remaining jewelry and gathered enough money to start fresh. Jazz, that money was legitimately yours. You could have purchased a new apartment with it, Keisha said, still unable to comprehend. Jasmine closed the suitcase. I don't want it, Keisha. If I accepted that money, I'd remain forever chained to the resentment. It's tainted money saturated with humiliation. I consider that I paid nearly $500,000 for an extremely expensive life lesson, and I refuse to repeat it. So where will you go? Jasmine smiled. It was the first genuinely sincere smile in weeks. I want to pursue my dream, the one I postponed. I want to return to college. I want to write. I still have my mind, Keisha. I still have ambition. She gripped Keisha's shoulders. I promise you, I will leave this city. I will vanish from Marcus and his mother's existence. I will use all my intangible capital, all this pain, to build something truly remarkable. Someday they will hear my name again, and then they'll realize who truly was beneath whose level. Jasmine embraced Keisha tightly. Take care, Keisha. Don't tell anyone where I've gone. Of course, Jazz. Chase your dreams. Make them regret everything. That night, Jasmine headed to the bus station. She deliberately chose a distant small town, somewhere nobody knew her. As the bus pulled away from the dazzling city that had caused her such pain, Jasmine gazed out the window. She didn't cry. She felt only immense relief. She vanished with one suitcase, a mountain of uncollected sacrifices, and a grand promise to herself. 12 months had passed. Time flowed uncompromisingly, transforming destinies and rotating the wheel of fate. On the 15th floor of Atlanta's most prestigious private hospital, a young man walked with confident, purposeful strides. His white physician's coat was perfectly pressed. An expensive stethoscope hung from his neck, not merely as a tool, but as a status symbol. The name badge on his chest clearly read, Dr. Marcus Webb. He was the department's rising star, intelligent, skilled, and despite his youth, already entrusted with complex procedures. His superiors adored him. Young nurses admired him. Colleagues viewed him as a model of success. Marcus had achieved everything he'd desired. His former life with Jasmine felt like a distant nightmare. He barely recalled his ex-wife's name. When she occasionally crossed his mind, Marcus considered her merely a shameful memory, a stepping stone necessary to reach his current position. Divorcing Jasmine was the wisest decision of my life, he frequently told himself before his luxurious penthouse mirror. Jasmine was dead weight, a stone in my shoe, a reminder of my mediocre past. Now he was free, and he celebrated that freedom with extravagance. Marcus no longer resided in the modest rental apartment inherited from his father. He and Vivian had moved into a lavish penthouse in the city center, where they enjoyed nightly city views. The mortgage was strangling him financially, but Marcus didn't care. Status was everything. He'd also traded his old motorcycle for a gleaming black Mercedes-Benz. He'd purchased it with 7-year financing at punishing interest rates. His starting salary at the private hospital was substantial, but insufficient for the lifestyle he wanted to project. Every weekend, Marcus spent evenings in high-end restaurants, the kind he'd used to humiliate Jasmine. He purchased designer watches, expensive clothing, and joined an exclusive golf club. On the surface, Dr. Marcus Webb was the perfect image of success. But behind that facade, a mountain of credit card bills began accumulating. He juggled 5 different credit cards and had applied for several bank loans under various pretexts. Marcus's arrogance had thoroughly infected Vivian as well. Her status as a physician's mother had elevated her social standing to heights she'd never imagined. Vivian was now a member of an elite social circle comprising executives' wives and officials' spouses. Whenever they gathered, she spoke of nothing but Marcus's greatness. "Oh, Marcus, of course, darling. He performs crucial surgeries constantly. He didn't return home until 3 a.m. last night," she boasted one afternoon while stirring expensive tea in a luxury hotel lobby. In truth, she knew perfectly well Marcus had arrived at 3 a.m., not from surgery, but from an exclusive nightclub party. "The new penthouse, you ask, darling?" Vivian continued, as though answering an inquiry. "Oh, it's modest. 3 bedrooms with city views. Marcus insisted his mother move in. He said she deserved comfort in her golden years. He's such a devoted son." Vivian constantly pressured Marcus to find a new partner quickly. "Marcus, you're a top physician now. Don't make another poor choice with your wife. Look for someone at your level. Professor Carter's daughter is beautiful and Ivy League educated. Or what about Vanessa, the hospital director's daughter? Remember, marriage is now a social investment for your career." She lectured Marcus almost daily. Marcus simply nodded, enjoying his status as the most desired bachelor. Days passed in cycles of ostentation and debt. Then one afternoon, while Marcus presided over an evaluation meeting with junior physicians, something happened. He was speaking with authority, gesturing at the presentation screen, when he suddenly felt dizzy. His vision blurred momentarily. He had to grab the table's edge to prevent stumbling. "Dr. Webb, are you all right?" asked a junior physician, noticing his superior's suddenly pale face. Marcus straightened instantly. He cleared his throat. "I'm fine. Just slightly fatigued. Too many surgeries." His voice was brusque. "Let's continue." He dismissed the strange throbbing in his temples. "Must be an ordinary migraine," he reasoned internally. "Lack of sleep and excessive coffee." But that ordinary migraine began appearing more frequently. A few days later, while eating lunch in the hospital cafeteria, still with his arrogant attitude, criticizing the chef's food as substandard, his hand, holding a spoon, suddenly trembled slightly. The tremor lasted only seconds, but was enough to make his heart skip a beat. What's happening? He thought. He clenched his fist under the table, trying to control the shaking. He blamed the air conditioning being too cold. That night, in his luxurious penthouse, the symptom manifested more strongly. He'd just finished a hot shower and was preparing for a dinner Vivian had organized to introduce him to a prospective wife. He stood before a large mirror, adjusting an expensive tie. Suddenly, the world around him seemed to tilt. His head throbbed intensely, as though thousands of needles were piercing it. His vision blurred completely. A loud ringing echoed in his ears. He staggered backward, colliding with the dresser behind him. Expensive cologne bottles crashed to the floor. What's happening?" Marcus whispered, clutching his head, which felt ready to explode. He collapsed onto the floor. He couldn't breathe. Cold sweat drenched his face and shirt. As a physician, danger alarms screamed in his mind. This wasn't ordinary fatigue or a migraine, but his enormous ego refused to admit it. He couldn't be sick. The great Dr. Marcus, at the peak of his career, couldn't be sick. He crawled to the medicine cabinet and retrieved 2 high-dose painkillers. He swallowed them without water. 15 minutes later, the pain slowly subsided. He still felt residual throbbing, but he looked at the broken mirror on the floor. His face was ashen. His phone rang. Vivian. "Marcus, where are you? Vanessa and her family are waiting. Don't embarrass your mother." Marcus took a deep breath, gathering his remaining strength. "Yes, Mom, I'm coming. Traffic." He lied. He stood up, body still trembling slightly. He washed his face and fixed his hair again. He glanced at the pile of credit card bills and car loan statements on his desk. Suddenly, all that luxury seemed cold and ominous. Fear began invading his mind, but he pushed it away. "No, I'm fine," he muttered. "I just need rest. Then everything will return to normal." He grabbed his Mercedes keys and departed, with his mask of success and arrogance firmly back in place. The arrogance mask Marcus had worn for an entire year finally cracked and shattered. A few days after suffering severe dizziness in his penthouse, the symptom reappeared in the worst imaginable location, at the operating table. He was leading a routine appendectomy, a procedure he could perform with his eyes closed. He'd scrubbed in, donned sterile gloves, and was about to request the scalpel from the scrub nurse. Suddenly, his hand trembled. Initially subtle, within seconds it became severe shaking. The scalpel he'd just received nearly slipped from his grasp. "Doctor?" his assistant said cautiously behind his mask, eyes showing perplexity. Time seemed to freeze in that cold operating room. Marcus stared at his own hand, stunned. He couldn't stop the trembling. Cold sweat, drops the size of corn kernels, began soaking his temples. He tried finding an excuse. "This glove size is wrong. Change it," he whispered. But when he attempted to remove the glove, the tremor became even more evident. The assistant and nurses exchanged glances. Marcus, the star surgeon known for steady hands, was now shaking uncontrollably. "Dr. Webb, are you certain you're okay?" the assistant asked again, concern evident in his voice. "I said I'm fine," Marcus snapped, but he knew he couldn't continue. "Take over," he ordered his assistant in a strained voice. "I suddenly feel ill, stomach issues." He threw the scalpel onto the instrument tray and hastily departed the operating room, leaving his entire team bewildered. He ripped off his mask and surgical cap in the hallway, leaning against the wall. He was breathless. This was no longer fatigue. It wasn't a migraine. It was something that would destroy his career, his pride, his future. Everything depended on the steadiness of that hand, and that hand had just betrayed him. He arranged a secret meeting outside working hours, scheduling an appointment for 9 p.m., long after consultation hours ended. He swallowed his pride and went to the office of the neurology chief, Dr. Patterson. Dr. Patterson, a calm, brilliant, dedicated veteran physician, the type Marcus had always considered old-fashioned and unstylish. Ironically, Marcus's fate now rested in Dr. Patterson's hands. "Marcus, what's wrong?" Dr. Patterson asked calmly, observing Marcus enter the room like a thief. Marcus had left his coat in the car. He'd come as an ordinary patient. I'm experiencing strange symptoms. My hands tremble, my vision frequently blurs. Dr. Patterson listened carefully, face remaining calm. He performed a series of basic neurological tests. Lie down there, follow this light, close your eyes, relax. Every command felt like a slap to Marcus. The great physician was now an obedient patient. After the physical examination, Dr. Patterson looked at him seriously. We need an MRI of your brain and spinal cord first thing tomorrow morning. The following day, Marcus underwent a series of tests with a mixture of fear and denial. He waited for results in his office, pacing like a caged lion. Vivian called repeatedly, complaining about why Marcus wasn't taking her to dinner at the luxury hotel. "What's the point of having a successful doctor's son, Marcus?" "I'm busy, Mom," Marcus shouted and hung up. His phone rang again. This time, Dr. Patterson. The results were ready. "Marcus, can you come to my office now?" Marcus's heart sank. With heavy steps, he went to Dr. Patterson's office. The veteran physician was already waiting. Marcus's MRI results were displayed on the large computer screen behind his desk. Dr. Patterson didn't mince words. "Marcus, sit down." He pointed to several abnormal white spots on Marcus's spinal cord and optic nerve displayed on the screen. "This isn't a tumor or stroke." "Then what is it?" Marcus whispered, voice trembling. "It's a rare, highly aggressive autoimmune disease." The rumors spread faster than hospital gossip typically did. Dr. Webb shook during an operation. He nearly dropped the scalpel. He canceled 3 major scheduled surgeries. Marcus locked himself in his office, rejecting all calls. His pride was shattered. "The treatment here will only slow the progression, Marcus. It won't stop or reverse existing damage. Given your profession as a surgeon, we need a radical solution." "Which one? What solution? Tell me." "A hematopoietic stem cell transplant. It will reset your immune system. It's your only hope of holding a scalpel again." A small hope ignited in Marcus. "Okay, let's do it. When can we schedule it?" Dr. Patterson sighed deeply. "This is the hardest part. That procedure isn't available here domestically for this type of aggressive autoimmune disease. It must be performed abroad, Singapore or Germany." Marcus's heart pounded again. "The cost? How much does it cost?" Dr. Patterson looked at Marcus with compassion. "The approximate estimate for the entire procedure, medical stay, and initial recovery is about $1.8 million. $1.8 million. That figure hit Marcus in the solar plexus like an invisible hammer. He gasped. He didn't even have $15,000 in his account. All his salary went to paying the Mercedes payments, the mortgage on the luxury penthouse, Vivian's credit cards, and his fake lifestyle. "And my insurance?" Marcus whispered, hoping for a miracle. Dr. Patterson opened another folder. "Your work insurance only covers registered serious illnesses. Yours falls into the rare category, and the stem cell procedure for autoimmune diseases is still considered experimental by many insurance companies. Maximum coverage will be for diagnosis and initial treatment costs here. Maybe about $150,000, no more." Marcus shook his head. "Impossible. It can't be." He laughed, a dry laugh that sounded like a cry. Dr. Marcus Webb, the surgical ace who had insulted his wife for not being at his level, was now here, completely broke, with a diagnosis of a rare disease that threatened to leave him blind and paralyzed. Marcus staggered out of Dr. Patterson's office. He arrived at his penthouse. Vivian was watching television in the luxurious living room. "Marcus, you're finally here. Mom ordered an expensive dinner on your credit card. Let's eat." Marcus looked at his mother with empty eyes. "I'm sick, Mom," he whispered. "With what? A cold?" "I told you. It's not a cold," Marcus shouted, his voice cracking. "I'm seriously ill. I need surgery abroad. It costs $1.8 million. The spoon Vivian was holding fell onto her expensive porcelain plate. "That's a joke, Marcus. Where are we going to get that kind of money? We just paid the down payment on your new car." "It's not a joke, Mom," Marcus yelled. Panic finally completely took hold of him. "I could go blind. I could be paralyzed. My career is over, and we don't have any money. We have nothing. We're ruined, Mom. Ruined. That night, in the luxurious penthouse with decades of mortgage ahead, the arrogant Dr. Marcus finally cried like a child, not for his illness, but for the realization that he didn't have a single dollar to save his life and his pride. The panic was a silent prison. Marcus and Vivian were now trapped in it. Marcus's cry of, "We're ruined," echoed in their luxurious penthouse, bounced off the imported marble walls and expensive furniture yet to be paid for, and then hit them again with deafening silence. Vivian, with a pale face, was the first to break that silence, but it was not with compassion for her son. "No, it can't be," Vivian whispered, her voice trembling. She didn't look at Marcus, who was sitting powerlessly on the floor. She looked around at the expensive abstract painting on the wall, the crystal chandelier, the 80-inch flat-screen television. "We can't be ruined, Marcus. This penthouse, your car, Mama's handbags, all this." Marcus laughed, a dry laugh that sounded like the moan of a dying man. "That's the problem, Mom. All this is an illusion." He stood up and kicked the glass coffee table in front of him, which slid screeching to the side. "This penthouse is a 20-year mortgage, Mom. We've barely paid 10 installments. Its value right now is much less than the capital we owe the bank. If we sell it, we'll still owe hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the Mercedes you boasted about in your social circle, Mom?" Vivian still tried to deny it. "That car, it's a 7-year loan, Mom. 7 years. The interest is choking us. If we sell it now, we won't have enough to pay the remaining debt. We have nothing, only debt. Debt everywhere." Vivian gasped. She thought of the designer handbags she had accumulated in her closet. Her heart sank. Almost half were high-quality knockoffs she had bought to keep looking good in her social circle, without having to keep using Marcus's credit cards. They were truly living a lie. So what do we do? $1.8 million. Vivian finally slumped powerlessly onto the expensive sofa. "My friends, those in the social circle, Mrs. Jenkins, the bank director's wife, Mrs. Washington, the construction magnate's wife, surely they can help. They won't let their friends suffer." That vain hope burned for a moment. Vivian picked up her phone with trembling hands. She called Mrs. Jenkins. A cheerful voice answered. "Hello, Zola. What's up at this hour?" Darling, please help me, help me." Vivian instantly burst into hysterical tears. "It's Marcus. Marcus is very sick, darling. He needs a $1.8 million surgery. Please, darling, lend me some money." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line, and that cheerful voice instantly disappeared. $1.8 million? Oh my goodness, Zola. That's too much. Oh, I'm sorry, Zola. My husband is in an important meeting abroad, and I can't bother him. And I'm very busy preparing for a charity event. I'll call you later, Zola. Click. She hung up. Vivian was stunned. She tried calling again. Busy signal. She called Mrs. Washington. The call was rejected. She called again. Rejected again. She called Mrs. Thompson. The answer was the same. "Oh, Zola, we also need funds for a renovation right now. It's a bad time." All the friends in the social circle who had praised her were now avoiding her like the plague. Vivian threw her phone onto the sofa. "They're all liars. They're mean." Marcus looked at his mother with disgust. "Now you realize they are only your friends when you have something to show off, just like my friends." Now it was Marcus's turn. He couldn't depend on his mother. He had to act on his own. But his pride as a great doctor forbade him to beg. He tried calling some medical colleagues he considered close. "Hello, Marcus. Sorry to bother you so late." Marcus called his surgeon colleague, Marcus Vidal. "Oh, Dr. Webb, what's up? What's going on?" Marcus swallowed. "Look, David, a really good real estate investment opportunity has come up for me abroad. I urgently need liquidity, between $500,000 and $1 million. Do you have anything?" A snicker was heard on the other end of the line. "Wow, Dr. Webb is playing in the big leagues of investment now. I give up, doctor. With your new Mercedes and new penthouse, you're much better at making money. Sorry, doctor. I just paid the down payment on my son's house, so I'm broke. Good luck with the investment." Click. He hung up. Marcus let out a choked moan. Everyone thought he was rich. What irony! The arrogance he had built for a year had become a boomerang that now prevented him from receiving help. He tried calling 2 other doctors. The response was similar. "Sorry, doctor, I don't have any money right now." Desperate, Marcus swallowed the last remnants of his pride. He arranged an appointment with the hospital director. He had to confess his illness. Perhaps the hospital could grant an emergency loan to its best employee. In the director's cold office, Marcus explained his situation without drama, only with medical facts. The director listened with deep compassion. "Dr. Webb, I'm very sorry. This is very shocking news. Of course we will help you get the maximum out of your insurance." "But director, the insurance only covers $150,000. I need $1.8 million, Marcus pleaded. His arrogant attitude had completely disappeared. "Couldn't the hospital grant me a loan? I don't care if they deduct it from my salary for 10 or 20 years. The director slowly shook his head. "Dr. Webb, we are a medical institution, not a bank. We cannot allocate such a large sum for a personal loan to an employee, not even for you. Our regulations are strict. The maximum we can do is support you with the insurance coverage. For the rest, I suggest you try to use your personal assets, your car, your penthouse." The blow was stronger than Dr. Patterson's diagnosis. Assets, assets. Marcus left the director's office with trembling legs. He was officially at a dead end. No friends, no colleagues, no institutions, no assets. He was alone. The following days were hell. Marcus was forced to request medical leave. The hospital management approved it very quickly, too quickly, as if they were relieved to get rid of a doctor with hand problems. The rumors started spreading uncontrollably. Marcus's symptoms worsened. That morning he woke up and the edge of his left visual field was slightly blurry, as if a thin veil covered it. The disease was not waiting. He sat in the living room of his dark, luxurious penthouse. The expensive curtains were drawn. Vivian was locked in her room, crying or sleeping. Marcus didn't care. He looked at the phone in his hand. His contact list was so full, but he felt so empty. He began to delete names. Mrs. Jenkins? Blocked. David Vidal? Flatterer. Vanessa? Gold digger. He deleted dozens of names. His phone screen now only had essential names, family from his hometown who had no money. And then his fingers stopped at the K. Keisha, Jordan. The name stayed there. Keisha, Jasmine's friend. The only person who might know where Jasmine was. His ordinary ex-wife, whom he had abandoned for not being at his level. Extreme shame burned Marcus's face. Contacting Keisha was the most low-down option. It was the most complete admission of defeat. It was proof that he had completely failed. But on the other hand, Jasmine was the only person in this world who had given him everything without conditions. He remembered Jasmine's last words in the restaurant. "You will come to regret this deeply." The regret was here now, not as a simple feeling of guilt, but as a concrete, suffocating regret in the form of a verdict of blindness and paralysis. He looked at Keisha's name on the screen. His hand trembled violently from illness and desperation. He had to do it. He had no other choice. The courage Marcus had boasted, the one he had used to humiliate Jasmine and as a shield of arrogance in the hospital, was now the size of a speck of dust. He stared at Keisha's name on his mobile screen for almost an hour. His hand, now with a more severe and hard-to-control tremor, rose and fell several times to press the call button. Each time he tried to press, he seemed to hear Vivian's cynical laugh and his own arrogant voice in his ears again. We exist on different planes now. The shame burned his throat like stomach acid. Contacting Keisha was raising the white flag. It was admitting that Jasmine, the ordinary woman he had abandoned, was his last hope. As he hesitated, his left eye throbbed again. The blurry shadow at the edge seemed to grow denser. The fear of blindness was much sharper than the shame. He inhaled sharply, abandoning his pride. He pressed the call button. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Just when Marcus thought Keisha wouldn't answer, the call connected. There was no hello, just a chilling silence. "Oh, hello," Marcus said, his voice shaking. "Hello, Keisha." A sarcastic sigh was heard on the other end of the line. Well, well, the respected Dr. Webb. You still had my number saved. Keisha's voice was so cutting and full of hatred that it further undermined Marcus's courage. Keisha, I'm sorry to bother you so late. You're sorry? Keisha laughed, a very unkind laugh. It's been over a year since you dumped my friend like trash, and now you call me to say you're sorry? Don't you think it's a little late? No, it's not that. Marcus rubbed his sweaty face. I just wanted to ask how Jasmine was. Keisha's laughter instantly ceased. After a moment of silence, a very dangerous voice was heard. You asked about Jasmine? After a year of not caring if she was dead or alive? Now you're seriously asking? Is your doctor's brain still working? Keisha, please, Marcus pleaded. His arrogance had completely disappeared, replaced by palpable desperation. I really need to talk to her. It's a matter of life or death. Life or death? Keisha scoffed. What's wrong with you? Did you run out of money? Do you want to ask her to fund another specialization for you? Or wait, I know. Oh, you're sick. Karma came for you, Marcus. Keisha's accurate guess was like a slap in the face. Marcus was silent, unable to refute. I knew it, Keisha shouted. Her voice rose. You're in trouble, aren't you? I knew it. You and your mother are parasites. You thought Jasmine was an ATM you could go to every time you needed cash. Isn't that right, Marcus? Keisha, please listen to me. I don't want to hear anything, Keisha cut him off. Listen to me well, Marcus. Jasmine is happy. She has rebuilt her life from the foundations you destroyed. She has forgotten about parasites like you and your mother. Don't you dare bother her again, and don't contact me again. Click. The call cut off. Marcus stared at his mobile screen, stunned. Keisha, wait! He tried to call back. Her number was immediately busy. Keisha had blocked him. Marcus threw his phone onto the sofa again, defeated. He paced back and forth in his dark living room, desperate. Keisha was his only way, and that way had just closed. Vivian came out of her room with a swollen face. What happened, Marcus? Did you get a loan? Shut up, Mom, Marcus snapped. This is all your fault, too. If you hadn't pressured me, maybe Jasmine would have still forgiven me. Why is it my fault? You wanted it. You said you were ashamed, Vivian retorted. Their argument was useless. Marcus returned to his phone. He couldn't call, but he could send a message. With hands shaking violently from a combination of illness and desperation, he typed a brief message. Keisha, I know you hate me. I deserve it. But please, this is life or death. I need Jasmine's contact. I'm sick. I have nowhere else to turn. I will pay her back, please. Last chance. He stared at the screen for a long time. His hope faded. Keisha really didn't care. Of course, why would she care? Marcus threw his phone again. It was over. His life was over. But an hour later, a message notification sounded. It was from Keisha. Marcus's heart pounded. He rushed to open it. It wasn't an address or Jasmine's phone number. It was just a cold response. Do you think Jasmine is still the old one? The ordinary Jasmine you could trample on whenever you wanted? Do you think she'll hear you're sick and cry with pity? How funny. Marcus slumped. Keisha was just mocking him. But underneath, there was another message. The Jasmine of now is too busy running her new foundation to remember the trash of the past. If you really need help, look for it yourself. Don't be a coward. The message ended there, but Marcus was fixated on one word. Foundation. What foundation? Jasmine had a foundation? That ordinary Jasmine? Were Keisha's words a trap or just another taunt? With trembling hands, he rushed to the laptop on the table. With his blurry left eye, he had to bring his face close to the screen. He opened a search engine. What should he type? Cole Foundation. He typed it. The first result froze him. It wasn't a social media account or a personal blog. It was a professional website, the Cole Foundation. Marcus's heart seemed to stop. He clicked the link. A very sleek and professional homepage opened. On the front page was a photo of a woman. It was Jasmine, but it wasn't the Jasmine he knew. The Jasmine in the photo wore a well-fitted dark blue suit jacket. Her hair was cut into a neat, elegant bob. She was standing in front of a modern building, smiling slightly at the camera. Her smile was no longer the soft smile of a submissive wife. It was the smile of a leader, dignified, confident, and cold. On the lobby wall of the building behind her was a large silver plaque that read, "The Cole Foundation, broadcasting good, building the future." Marcus scrolled down with trembling hands. He read the section, "About the Foundation, founded by Jasmine Cole, author of the autobiographical bestseller, The Price of Dreams. The Cole Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping those struggling to get ahead." Author of a bestseller. When had Jasmine written a book? He continued reading. He reached the Our Main Programs section. There were several, and his eyes fixed on the primary program, the Beacon Grant, full scholarships and emergency surgery funding for outstanding medical students from underserved backgrounds. The laptop almost fell off his lap. Marcus felt a lump in his throat. This is impossible. It's a joke. It's a nightmare. His ex-wife, Jasmine, whom he had insulted for not being at his level, was now the founder of a huge foundation dedicated specifically to funding the education and emergency surgeries of medical students. The irony was so painful, so cruel, that Marcus felt nauseous. He rushed to search for news about Jasmine. He found dozens of articles, interviews in business magazines, appearances on morning television shows. Jasmine's face was everywhere. Jasmine Cole, turning pain into real action. With millions of dollars from book royalties, the Cole Foundation is poised to shape generations of new doctors. Marcus looked at the laptop screen and then at the pile of debt collection letters on his desk. He clutched his left eye, which was starting to ache. Keisha was right. The Jasmine of now was not the Jasmine of before. She was someone who was out of his league. She was the person who held the key to all his problems. And she was the person he had hurt the most in this world. The laptop screen remained lit, projecting a cold blue light into the dark penthouse living room. Jasmine's face, smiling with dignity from the Cole Foundation website, was a stronger slap than Dr. Patterson's diagnosis. Marcus didn't sleep all night. He just sat, paralyzed. In one hand, he held the MRI results. The other trembled uncontrollably. His left eye now felt very uncomfortable. His field of vision was narrowing. The disease was not giving him time to think. The irony of the situation was too cruel, too perfect. The woman he had abandoned for not being at his level was now the only person in this world dedicated specifically to helping cases like his. In her room, Vivian was no longer crying. She was simply silent. The shock she had experienced was so great that she could no longer process reality. Her social circle had stopped inviting her. Her additional credit cards had been blocked by the bank. She was now trapped, just like Marcus. Marcus knew he had no other option. Shame, pride, arrogance, all that meant nothing if he went blind and paralyzed. He had to go see Jasmine. He had to shed the last remnant of his pride. The first problem arose: cash. He didn't have $1. All his credit cards were maxed out. He looked at his Mercedes keys on the table. Useless. The finance company had the papers. He glanced at the luxury watch on his wrist. It was the only asset he owned, and he had also bought it in installments on his credit card. He took it off. "Damn it," he whispered. He put on a jacket to cover his pajamas and rushed out. He headed to a pawn shop near the market, a place he would have once looked at with disdain. Yes, Dr. Webb had to wait in line with people pawning fake gold jewelry. The luxury watch was appraised at a very low price. He was only left with enough for a round-trip city bus fare to the Foundation's address and one meal. He chose the cheapest option, the city bus. The journey to the downtown business district, where the Cole Foundation's address was located, felt like a walk to the gallows. Accustomed to arrogantly driving his Mercedes, he was now sitting in the back seat of a crowded bus that smelled of cheap air freshener. He looked out the window at the skyscrapers he once considered his playground. The bus stopped in front of the lobby of a modern, imposing office building. The glass walls stood tall. The marble lobby shone through elegant revolving doors. A huge silver plaque sparkled in the morning sun. The Cole Foundation. Marcus paid the fare with the money he had left. He stood trembling on the sidewalk. This is real. It wasn't just a website. It was a small empire. He straightened his wrinkled jacket. He felt like a beggar. With heavy steps, he pushed through the glass doors. The foundation's lobby was very different from what he had imagined. It wasn't like a small, shabby NGO office. The place looked more like a five-star hotel lobby, bustling, professional, and full of positive energy. Several young people in neat uniforms, probably scholarship recipients, walked quickly with stacks of documents. The walls were decorated with large photographs. Jasmine shaking hands with the president of a university. Jasmine inaugurating a rural clinic. Jasmine smiling, surrounded by admiring medical students. Marcus's heart sank. All this, Jasmine had built all this from the pain he had caused her. He cautiously approached the reception desk made of expensive, solid mahogany wood. A friendly young woman immediately smiled at him. "Good morning, sir. How may I help you? Do you have an appointment?" A lump formed in Marcus's throat. I need to see Ms. Cole. It's urgent. Please tell her that Marcus Webb is here." The receptionist smiled, a professional smile that now felt like a steel shield. "I'm very sorry, sir. Without a prior appointment, I cannot interrupt her meetings. If you wish to leave a message or—" "I told you, it's a life-or-death emergency," Marcus shouted. His voice became desperate. His hands began to tremble violently, and he had to hide them in his jacket pockets. Several people in the lobby began to turn around. The receptionist looked a little nervous. Her hand almost reached for the phone to call security. "What is all this commotion?" A calm, deep, and very familiar voice was heard from the direction of a private elevator in a corner of the lobby. Marcus froze. He recognized that voice. He turned around slowly. There, standing tall in an expensive, perfectly tailored gray suit, was Attorney Reynolds, Jasmine's lawyer. His face remained calm, but the gaze behind his expensive glasses was now much sharper. He no longer seemed like a small lawyer defending an oppressed wife. He looked like a high-level corporate legal advisor. Attorney Reynolds looked at Marcus. There was no surprise on his face, only cold observation. He approached. "Mr. Webb, I didn't expect us to meet again, especially not here." Marcus swallowed. His shame was now mixed with fear. "Attorney Reynolds, do you still remember me?" Attorney Reynolds smiled slightly. "Oh, I never forget a potential client who could have earned me $475,000. And I never forget someone who passed up that opportunity." He looked at the receptionist. "It's all right, Mina. I'll take care of this gentleman." Attorney Reynolds motioned for Marcus to follow him to a more private area, a waiting room with comfortable leather sofas. Marcus sat on the edge of a sofa, his body rigid. "What brings Mr. Webb here after more than a year?" Attorney Reynolds began, sitting comfortably across from him and crossing his legs. "Don't tell me you've changed your mind about the $475,000 and want to pay it back, do you?" "No," Marcus interrupted quickly. "It's not that. I'm sick, counselor. I'm seriously ill." "I know," Attorney Reynolds replied dryly. Marcus gasped. "How do you know?" "Ms. Cole's friend, Ms. Keisha, called her last night. After receiving your text message, she told her everything about the autoimmune disease and the need for $1.8 million. Ms. Cole asked me to meet with you if you showed up here forcefully." Marcus was shocked. So Keisha had informed. Jasmine knew he would come. All this was prepared. He felt like a rat in a trap. "So, where is Jasmine?" Marcus whispered. Hope was mixed with fear. "Is she going to help me, right?" "Yes, she still cares." Attorney Reynolds didn't answer, just looked at Marcus with an unreadable expression. Then he reached out to the coffee table between them and picked up one of the thick, glossy brochures that were neatly stacked. It was the official brochure of the Cole Foundation. Attorney Reynolds said nothing, simply slid the brochure toward Marcus. Marcus's violently trembling hand took the brochure and opened it. On the second page, the Foundation's vision and mission were clearly detailed. And on the third page was its main program, the Beacon Grant, complete educational funding, and emergency surgery expense coverage for outstanding medical students and professionals. It was all there in black and white. Marcus looked up and stared at Attorney Reynolds with pleading eyes. "Counselor, this program means Jasmine is going to help me, right?" Attorney Reynolds leaned back in the sofa. He looked at Marcus for a long time before finally speaking in a calm, chilling voice. "It is true that Ms. Cole founded this organization to help people. But Mr. Webb, this program has a procedure." "What procedure? I'll do whatever it takes." Attorney Reynolds smiled slightly. "Good. Then go back to the reception desk." "Why?" Marcus asked, confused. "To pick up a form," Attorney Reynolds replied. "The application form for medical aid beneficiaries. You will need to fill it out completely. Attach a certificate of social assistance issued by your local social services agency, a statement of your debts, the official diagnosis from Dr. Patterson, and of course, a letter of recommendation. Then our team will review whether you meet the requirements." Marcus froze. Certificate of social assistance. Dr. Marcus having to go to a municipal office to ask for a certificate of poverty. "Mr. Webb," Attorney Reynolds continued, "you are not here as an ex-husband seeking compassion. You are here, Mr. Webb, as an applicant, a supplicant, like dozens of other applicants. Now go and pick up the form." Marcus stumbled out of the Cole Foundation's grand lobby. His body felt light and heavy at the same time, as if his soul had escaped. In his hand, he held a brochure and a few sheets of an application form that felt heavier than Dr. Patterson's verdict. Application form for medical aid beneficiary. Certificate of social assistance issued by the local social services agency. Those words danced before his increasingly blurry eyes. Yes, Dr. Marcus, whose photo had appeared in the hospital's internal health magazine, now had to beg for a certificate of poverty at a municipal office. It was a level of humiliation he had never imagined. Attorney Reynolds didn't even escort him to the door. He let him leave alone, passing between the curious glances of the young employees who had seen him enter with the lawyer and now saw him leave with a pale face. He arrived at his penthouse, which now felt like a luxury prison. Vivian immediately greeted him at the door. "What happened, Marcus? Did you see Jasmine? Did she say she would help you? She still loves you, Mom. Are you sure?" Marcus didn't answer. He walked directly to the dining room table and threw the application form onto the marble surface. "Read it," he whispered. Vivian picked up the papers. Her eyes widened as she read the title of the form. "What is this? Why do you have to fill out a form? She's your ex-wife." Then her eyes fell on the list of requirements. Attached certificate of social assistance issued by the local social services agency. Vivian's voice sharpened. "Jasmine is crazy. She wants to humiliate us. She wants to make us beg." "She succeeded, Mom," Marcus yelled. His voice cracked. He punched the wall next to him, but his fist trembled so much that it felt weak. "She managed to turn me into a beggar. Do you think I have another option? Huh? Do you want me to go blind? Do you want to push my wheelchair in this penthouse that the bank will foreclose on next month?" Vivian was silent. Her face was pale. Reality hit her mercilessly. "Grab your bag, Mom," Marcus ordered coldly. "We're going to the social services office right now." "But Marcus, I'm embarrassed," Vivian wailed. "What are you more ashamed of? Going to the social services office or having the debt collectors come and throw you out of this penthouse in front of all your social circle friends?" Vivian couldn't argue. With a trembling body, she got dressed. She deliberately put on large sunglasses and a face mask, hoping no one would recognize her. The trip to the social services office was the most humiliating of their lives. They couldn't drive their Mercedes, whose taxes were overdue. They had to take a city bus that dropped them right at the peeling door of the municipal office. As soon as they entered, all eyes were on them. Employees busily typing, other citizens queuing for aid. They were a sharply contrasting sight. Vivian, with her hidden knockoff handbag, and Marcus, the young doctor with a familiar face, now sitting in a cracked orange plastic waiting chair. "Hey, isn't that Dr. Webb from the Heights?" whispered one employee to his colleague. "Yeah, what's he doing here? This is the social assistance window. Marcus simply lowered his head, clenching his trembling hands on his knees. Vivian pretended to be busy with her phone, although the screen was off. When their turn came, Marcus approached the window with heavy steps. "Good morning, sir. How may I help you?" "I want to apply for a certificate of social assistance," Marcus said in an almost inaudible voice. The employee looked up in surprise. "Excuse me, sir? For whom?" "For me, Marcus Webb." The employee looked him up and down. "You're Dr. Webb? The one from the Heights, right? Excuse me, but you don't look like you need—" "I'm sick," Marcus shouted. His voice rose. "I'm seriously ill. I need a $1.8 million surgery. I don't work anymore. I'm ruined. I have no money. Just give me the form." The entire office fell silent. All eyes were on Marcus. Vivian wanted to faint right there. This humiliation was worse than death. After a process that felt like an eternity, filled with looks of suspicion and sharp whispers, that precious piece of paper finally was in Marcus's hands. Certificate of Social Assistance. The municipal office stamp felt like a red-hot mark burning his palm. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk under a dim reading lamp, filling out page by page the Cole Foundation application form. Applicant name, Marcus Webb. Profession, inactive surgeon. He reached the debt status section. He wrote everything one by one, swallowing his pride with every movement of the pen. The Sterling Heights penthouse, mortgage, $1 million. Mercedes vehicle loan, $225,000. Bank A credit card, $25,000. Bank B credit card, $25,000. Bank C personal loan, $15,000. The total reached $1.3 million. In the assets owned section, he wrote one word, none. He attached the certificate of social assistance, copies of all his debt collection letters, and Dr. Patterson's diagnosis. It was a perfect dossier of his bankruptcy and his failure. The next morning, he returned to the foundation building. This time, his appearance was even more disheveled. He hadn't shaved. His eyes were red. He handed the thick file to the receptionist, Mina, who received it with the same professional smile. "Yes, sir. I have received the dossier. Our review team will process it. Please wait." Marcus waited in the lobby. 1 hour, 2, 3. He saw people passing by. He saw cheerful medical students, probably funded by Jasmine. Just when he thought they would tell him to leave, Attorney Reynolds appeared from the elevator. "Mr. Webb, Ms. Cole will receive you now." Marcus's heart seemed to stop. It was time. He followed Attorney Reynolds like a lamb to the slaughter. They went up in the private elevator to the penthouse floor, the highest one. The elevator doors opened directly to a very spacious office. The walls were glass, offering a 180-degree view of the city. In the center of the room, behind a huge, neat mahogany desk, Jasmine was sitting. Marcus held his breath. The Jasmine he saw now was not the one in the photos. She was much more imposing. Her hair was pulled back in a neat, modern bun. She wore an elegant emerald silk blouse. Her face was subtly but firmly made up. She was reading something on her computer screen. She didn't look up immediately when Marcus and Attorney Reynolds entered. "Miss Cole, Mr. Webb is here," Attorney Reynolds said softly. Jasmine finished reading, then slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were what had changed the most. Before, they were full of love and adoration. Now they were cold, calm, and sharp, like those of a bird of prey. There was no love or hatred, only calculation. "Mr. Webb, please sit down," Jasmine said. Her voice was flat. Not Marcus, but Mr. Webb. Marcus sat in a stiff chair across from Jasmine's desk. He felt like an accused man. Attorney Reynolds stood silently in a corner of the room. "We have reviewed your application," Jasmine began. Her voice was as calm as if she were talking about the weather. She picked up the MRI he had submitted. The diagnosis of an aggressive and progressive autoimmune disease from Dr. Patterson. Need for funds of $1.8 million. We have verified it with the Singapore hospital. The amount is correct. Jasmine turned to the next page. "And your debt status?"
A total of 1.3 million. Very impressive. You managed to squander so much money in just 1 year. Marcus blushed with shame. Jasmine. Marcus couldn't bear it anymore. He had to beg. Jasmine, I was wrong. I was blind. Jasmine, I was arrogant. Jasmine slightly raised her hand, palm toward Marcus, a small gesture with immense power that instantly silenced him. Mr. Webb, she said, her voice still flat, I am not interested in your apologies. That is your personal matter and has no value in this business proposal. Business? Marcus opened his mouth. Of course, this foundation is a legal entity. 1.8 million is a very large investment to save a life. My team must review whether the asset to be saved is worth that cost. Marcus felt stabbed. Asset? She considers me an asset. Of course, you are a trained surgeon. You have a skill. It would be a shame for you to go blind or paralyzed. Jasmine looked at him steadily. But you have a very poor track record in managing investments provided by others. That sentence hit Marcus right in the heart. Jasmine was referring to the cost of his 6 years of tuition. Marcus lowered his head. He was completely defeated. Then, Jasmine, what is your decision? Are you going to reject me? Jasmine leaned back in her chair. She looked at Marcus for a long time. The silence in the room was very heavy. No, your application has been approved. Marcus let out a gasp. Tears of relief almost flowed. Jasmine, thank you. Thank you. I promise I'm not finished yet. Jasmine cut him off. Her voice was still icy. The foundation will cover the entirety of the 1.8 million for your surgery in Singapore. Oh God, thank you, Jasmine, thank you. And, Jasmine continued as if Marcus hadn't spoken, the foundation will also take over all your consumer debt, the 1.3 million. Marcus was speechless. What? Jasmine, you're going to pay my car payments? My penthouse mortgage? Correct. I do not want your assets to be bothered by collectors while you recover. Marcus couldn't believe it. This was more than he expected. Jasmine, I don't know what to say. Say nothing, because this is not a gift, Jasmine said. It is not charity or compassion. Jasmine stood up and walked to the large window, looking at the city below. It is a grant, an employment contract. Marcus tensed up. Employment contract? Jasmine turned around, her eyes fixed on Marcus's. There was no trace of love in them, only pure business. The Cole Foundation will invest a total of $3.1 million in you. After you fully recover, and you will recover, you will no longer be the arrogant, free Dr. Webb. You will be an asset owned by the Cole Foundation. Marcus looked at Jasmine in disbelief. An asset owned by the foundation? Exactly. Jasmine sat back down in her chair as if closing a routine business deal. She gestured to Attorney Reynolds. Attorney Reynolds stepped forward and placed a thick black leather folder on the desk in front of Marcus. Read it, Mr. Webb, Attorney Reynolds said. That is your employment contract. Marcus's trembling hand opened the folder. Inside were not one, but dozens of sheets of dense legal contracts, including a debt assignment agreement and a dedication contract. Jasmine began to explain. Her voice was flat and emotionless, as if reading a financial report. First, the foundation will settle the entirety of your $3.1 million in debt within 24 hours, $1.8 million for your surgery, and $1.3 million to pay off the mortgage, car loan, and all your credit cards. Marcus swallowed. Second, all assets related to those debts, the Sterling Heights penthouse and the Mercedes vehicle, will be seized by the foundation as collateral. Attorney Reynolds' team will handle the eviction tomorrow morning. You and your mother have until tonight to pack your bags. Marcus gasped. Eviction? But where will I live? Third, the foundation will provide you with basic accommodation for the duration of the contract, a room in our clinic staff residence. Fourth, this contract is binding. You will dedicate your medical career under the auspices of the Cole Foundation. Jasmine paused. Taking into account that the foundation's total investment in you is $3.1 million,
And the standard salary for a physician in our clinic is $4,500 per month. Jasmine picked up a calculator from her desk and typed in silence. You will be under an exclusive dedication contract with us for 28 years. 28 years. Marcus deflated. It was a life sentence. However, Jasmine continued, as if reading his mind, if you perform exceptionally well, our foundation has an early release program for assets of excellence. If you can demonstrate exceptional dedication and service in a remote area, your contract could be reviewed. Remote area? Marcus whispered. Surely you didn't think I would assign you to a luxury hospital in Atlanta, did you, Mr. Webb? Jasmine smiled slightly. It was the first smile Marcus saw, and it was the most terrifying. You will be assigned to our service clinic in a small town in the Mississippi Delta, an 8-hour drive from the city. Marcus bowed his head. He had no other choice. Sign a 28-year contract in a remote town or go blind, paralyzed, and pursued by collectors in jail. I'll sign, Marcus whispered. A wise choice, Jasmine said. She held out an expensive pen to him. Marcus took the pen. His hand trembled violently, half from the illness, half because his fate had just been sealed. He signed every page Attorney Reynolds pointed to. Good, Jasmine said as soon as the last signature was completed. Attorney Reynolds will take you to the bank to open a new account in the foundation's name and will prepare your departure for Singapore the day after tomorrow. She looked at him one final time. Work hard, Dr. Webb. Jasmine returned to looking at her computer screen, completely ignoring Marcus, as if the meeting were over and Marcus was no longer in the room. 2 days later, Attorney Reynolds' team arrived at the Sterling Heights penthouse. Vivian, who thought Jasmine would change her mind and let them stay, cried hysterically. Jasmine, you're wicked. How can you do this? This is our home. Where are we going to live? Attorney Reynolds simply showed a valid seizure order. I'm sorry, ma'am. This mortgage has been paid by the foundation. According to the contract, this asset becomes the property of the foundation. You have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings. The arrogant Vivian had to force her clothes into a suitcase while listening to the gossip of the penthouse neighbors. Marcus's Mercedes was towed from the underground garage. Vivian was taken by taxi to a small, suffocating rental apartment on the outskirts of the city, whose first 3 months of rent were paid by the foundation. After that, she would have to fend for herself. Meanwhile, Marcus underwent the operation in Singapore. Everything went well. Stem cell technology managed to reset his immune system. His recovery process was long and solitary. There was no Vivian to care for him, no colleagues to visit him, only a nurse hired by the foundation. 2 months later, Marcus returned to the U.S. He was fully recovered. His hands no longer trembled. His vision was clear again. But he was no longer a free man. He was picked up at the airport by a foundation employee. He was handed a simple uniform shirt with the Cole Foundation logo and was immediately transported to the bus station. An 8-hour journey on a hot, regular bus. Then a 2-hour motorcycle taxi ride down a dirt road. He finally arrived at the service clinic, a simple white building in the middle of a town surrounded by cotton fields. There was no air conditioning, only fans. There was no high-tech equipment, only a stethoscope, a blood pressure monitor, and basic medications. The former surgical ace, Marcus, now had to treat coughs, colds, diarrhea, and assist with births using basic equipment. At first, he felt furious, resentful, and humiliated, but he had no other option. Every day, he worked under the strict supervision of the clinic director. Back in Atlanta, Vivian suffered. The money for the 3 months ran out. She was forced to sell her handbags. Yes, the same woman who had once humiliated Jasmine now had to work as an assistant in a restaurant, scrubbing dishes, struggling to survive. Every time she saw Jasmine's face on the television news as a prominent philanthropist, Vivian could only cry in her small rental apartment with infinite regret. 6 months passed, and Marcus began to get used to it. He started finding something that had been missing in his life: sincerity. He saw the patients in the town who were simply grateful for an examination. He helped a child with a broken arm using basic tools. He realized that the meaning of being a doctor was not luxury or status. One afternoon, a helicopter landed in the town field, surprising all the residents. Marcus, who was treating a farmer's wound, looked up. Jasmine stepped out of the helicopter, accompanied by attorney Reynolds. She had come for a routine inspection. Jasmine, dressed in a neat linen shirt, entered the clinic. She saw Marcus, who was now slightly tanned by the sun. His uniform shirt was soaked in sweat. Jasmine did not greet him personally. She checked the medication inventory books and patient records. She stopped in front of Marcus, who was comforting a child crying over an injection. Marcus's hand, which once trembled from illness and arrogance, was now very firm and gentle as he patted the child's back. Their eyes met for a moment. Marcus inclined his head in greeting. "Good morning, Miss Cole. The daily patient report is on the clinic director's desk." Jasmine looked at him for a long time. There was no longer anger in her eyes, only the gaze of a leader toward her employee. "Good work, Dr. Webb. Keep it up." She paused. "You have 27 and a half years left." Jasmine turned around and returned to her helicopter. Marcus watched as the helicopter flew away. He sighed deeply. He really wasn't at Jasmine's level. Jasmine was in the sky, and he was on the ground. Jasmine had won perfectly. She had not only recovered her money, she had not only taken revenge, she had taken Marcus's life, destroyed it, and then rebuilt it into her own version, not as an arrogant husband, but as a dedicated physician. Jasmine had managed to broadcast good in the most painful and just way possible. A brief lesson. Arrogance is debt with the highest interest. It will be collected when we are least prepared. Sincerity, on the other hand, is an investment. It will often be returned twofold in the most unexpected ways. Did you enjoy this story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked this story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.